Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dmitry Nikolaev and I will be talking about the work on subordinate clause detection that we did together with Sebastian and Pado. Subordinate clauses are an interesting topic because they are intuitively understandable and they are arguably found in all the world's languages. However, they are somehow tricky to define in a cross-lingual manner, and one workable approach is to start from their semantics and say that subordinate clauses are the clauses that contain non-asserted information. For instance, in the sentence, I know how she felt about that, the fact that the other person felt something is assumed to be true. It's not asserted. So the new information provided in this particular sentence. And when solving natural language understanding tasks, sequence-to-sequence models have to somehow extract this knowledge and use it implicitly. So in the popular setting, when a model is first pre-trained and then fine-tuned on some particular task, such as claim, stance, of activity detection, it is already the pre-trained model that should be able to extract this knowledge. As I said, subordinate clauses are hard to define in a cross-lingual way because different languages use different strategies for marking them. So models will have to acquire different strategies to detect subordinate clauses in different languages. And this is a very interesting way to analyze cross-lingual models because we will be able to see how well they can transfer these strategies from one language to another. In this work, we study how well BERT-based models can solve this task and what factors influence their performance. We explore two settings. In the single language setting, we take pre-trained models from different languages and fine-tune them on the task of subordinate clause detection in the same language. And then we check the performance. We see how the size of the training set and the size of the model influence the performance, and also look at particular grammatical constructions that may influence the performance. In the cross-lingual setting, we repeatedly fine-tune multilingual BERT on data from 10 different languages, and we apply each model to test sets in 27 different languages. And in this setting, we'll look for patterns that emerge in this cross-lingual comparison, and also we do qualitative evaluation to look at which kind of constructions across languages influence zero-shot performance. Data, we use corpora annotated with universal dependencies. As much as possible, we use the parallel universal dependencies collection as test sets, and we operationalize the research problem as a distinction between elements with the root tag, which we analyze as belonging to the main clause, and we analyze elements marked as ACL, CComp, EDFCL, CSubj, and XComp as markers of subordinate clauses, and then we basically assign labels to individual tokens. So here are the results from the models fine-tuned and tested in the same language. They're all quite good. They're all nearly 90 or above 90% accuracy, but we see a continuum from models around 90% accuracy to the models that have around 99% accuracy. The worst results are obtained for Mandarin, for which we actually have large training data sets and big models. The source of the problem seems to be a high degree of part-of-speech liability. The same words can act as main clause predicates and as subordinate clause markers, and in general the grammar is quite construction-heavy in that different types of subordinate clauses look very differently, which makes it hard to detect them. A similar situation obtains for Vietnamese, and for Korean it is different but also quite complicated because Korean has on the order of 60 different clause connectors, and many of them allow for both coordinative and subordinative reading, which changes the status of the first clause because it becomes either the main predicate, the main clause of the sentence, or the subordinate clause. So this arguably also confuses the model. At the other end of the spectrum, we see languages with very high accuracies, regardless of the model size and training set size, because, for instance, for Afrikaans, both the model size and the training set size are quite small. What these languages have in common is that they have very unambiguous complementizers found in stable positions inside the sentence, which really simplifies the analysis. As for German, the results for which are quite bad, they're mostly due to discrepancies between the training and the test set, and so these are bogus errors. Here are the cross-lingual results. We have source languages in rows and target languages and datasets in columns. They're a bit hard to take in at a glance, so I will guide you through them a bit. One observation that can be made is that the best overall performance is achieved by Russian as a source language. It has a huge fine-tuning dataset, not the biggest one, but a big one, and also its word order is quite flexible, which maybe helps the model to generalize across languages. Another noticeable thing is that when we project languages with not verb final order to languages with a strict verb final order, Japanese and Korean, the results are very bad. The underlying values are those where the results of the model are actually worse than the results of the majority baseline classifier, where we always select the subordinate clause. And it works the other way around too. If you look at the values for Korean and Japanese as source languages, you will see that they are quite bad across the board, except for the cases when they're projected to verb final languages. However, when we're projecting verb final languages to other verb final languages, either strict ones like Japanese and Korean or non-strict ones like Turkish or Hindi, the results are much better. Also, interestingly, Mandarin Chinese, that has a mixture of verb final and SVO word orders, is flexible enough to be the only language that never loses to the majority class baseline. Finally, when projecting from one verb initial language, Arabic, to another, Irish, the result is also quite good, even though Arabic is a bad general approximator. Our analysis of failure cases seems to indicate that models trained in European languages overemphasize the exact position and the presence of complementizers, and generally, the more variety you have in the source language, for instance Russian compared to English, Mandarin compared to other languages, the better your zero-shot performance is on average. General takeaway seems to be that subordinate clause detection is an easy task, but it has a long tail of hard cases even in the language internal setting, and this puts an upper limit on zero-shot performance. And in general, zero-shot performance on this task seems to be dominated by the word order typology, especially the divide between the verb final and non-verb final languages. And a major avenue for the future work is to check if these hard cases noticeably impact performance on the natural language understanding tasks. Thank you for your attention.